You saw me referencing one Joe Biden, the Autopen guy, right? Comer, like a dog with a bone, right? He has not given up. He's now in the final stages of the Biden Autopen probe. And so as he nears the finish line, we're anticipating that there's going to be some real problems ahead for certain Biden staffers. He's actually made quite a point of this. I mean, he's struck by the fact that, on the one hand, they were out there saying, best Biden ever. He's terrific. He's doing great, right? And then once they get him under the microscope, most of them, by the way, are taking the fifth, but once they get a few under the microscope and they say, hey, what do you really think? Suddenly, they're like, well, I never really saw him. Like Ian Sams, he said, he's like, the guy who was telling us, oh, it's all great. Like, never really saw him? Are you serious? Watch.
Fit and ready to do the job, now saying they really didn't spend that much time with him. The testimony doesn't add up with what we saw. Something is awry here.
Yeah, something's definitely awry. Look, when you have Ian Sams, who was the face of the White House response to the very damaging report that said that Joe Biden was a forgetful old man. He was the face of the White House response to our investigation, Byron Donalds and myself, as well as all the members of the House Oversight Committee, when we found that China had, in fact, wired money to LLCs owned by Biden family members. He was the one that would always respond and say he talked to Joe Biden. Joe Biden was vibrant. Joe Biden did not do this. The family's innocent. And then come to find out when we put him under oath, he admits, well, I only saw Joe Biden 2 times over a 2-year period. That's unprecedented. We're trying to get to the bottom of who was operating the Autopen, and we've brought in a dozen people so far, and they're all pointing the fingers at other people. The ones that I think may have a little more knowledge, they pled the fifth to avoid self-incrimination. So I think what you're going to see is unless Jean-Pierre and some of these others come in and tell us more, it's becoming very apparent that Joe Biden really wasn't the one in command at the end of his presidency. And that's important because you're talking about thousands of pardons and dozens of executive orders that were signed with that Autopen, and it appears without President Biden's knowledge. Yeah,
that's what they've actually discovered, that even his own team apparently was saying, hey, you might want to sign some of these. There were like ones for his own family, all these auto pardons, right? And he wasn't even signing those. I think the only one he did was Sonny Boy, Laptop Boy, Hunter. Anyway, like, what was going on? I mean, KJP gaslighting us like you wouldn't believe. Whenever I showed you, he was kind of stumbling. It was taking him a while to put his sunglasses on. Remember the time he was wandering off at one of the G7 events, and Georgia Maloney, I knew she was such a good person then, right? She was like the mom in the group, like everybody else. Macron's like looking for the camera. And Georgia Maloney's like, oh my gosh, he's wandering off. Let me go and get him. He was attracted to somebody who was like blowing up a big balloon, and he was like wandering off to see that. And she brought him back. And just the way he was walking, just the way he seemed so out of sorts. And then he went to put his sunglasses on, and the way he was moving, like, unfortunately, if you've lived long enough, you've seen this before in your loved ones. And, I have, and you recognize it. And yet nobody could talk about it. And if I showed this, it was just a cheap fake. Remember the time he was trying to sit, and he kept trying to sit and sit and sit, and everybody was like, oh, they didn't show the part with the chair. I showed the part with the chair. I mean, he eventually did have a chair to sit in, but the point was, like, he just was sort of clueless about what was going around him because everybody was still standing. They were still standing, and yet he was over in France, in Normandy, and he kept trying to sit, and then eventually everybody sat down. And then if you ran this, everybody freaked out. KJP was all over you. Cheap fake, cheap fake, cheap fake. Watch.
Video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I got a credibility problem. Unbelievable. You know who has a credibility problem? In addition to that lady, the woman who came before her, the other liar that's about to lose her show on MSNBC because she can't get a rating to save her life.
I left in May of 2022, just for the facts here. And I have seen Biden once since then, when I took my daughter to the holiday party this last December after he had lost. And so I hadn't seen him in person during that period of time. I never saw that person, not a single time. And I was in the Oval Office every day that was on that debate stage. I'm not a doctor. Aging happens quite quickly. Were things that people saw during that period of time that were similar to that, or would have been in a category of that? I don't know, possibly, right? And all these books are going to tell us.
Like, do you think that were they actively covering it up? Were they sort of in denial, or was that just a bad debate? Like, what is your read on that?
Well, this is what I mean about cover up is a very loaded term, I think.
Well, it means you knew that it was really bad and you're pretending otherwise versus you're deluding yourself, which I think is what people do a lot.
Well, I understand, but I still think it's like cover up is often like a crime, right? We're talking, when people use that term.
They say it's worse than the crime.
People use that term as they relate to Watergate or the covering up of not sharing public information about a war.
Yeah, and I'm not accusing anybody of a crime.
I understand, but other people have used that term, and I think it's a bit of a dangerous term.
And she's like, how dare you? How dare you? I know where you're going with this because I got up there on that podium every day and I talked about how great he was and how bad you all were. And KJP, she did the exact same thing. And so what, they were lying? Yeah. I mean, guys, they were lying a lot. The question is who was doing the lying, like who was really pulling the strings. I've told you before my thesis, and this is really just common sense, because if you're the wife of Joe Biden, if you're Dr. Jill Biden, you're kind of controlling the strings there, you're controlling him. And so thus her chief of staff, Anthony Burnell, who took the fifth, by the way, like he's got some, I have serious questions for him. He's never going to answer them. Comer's got questions. He's never going to answer them. There's something that went down. I mean, you talk about using the 25th, Maxine Waters. Oh boy, poor Maxine. Maxine has kind of seen her day come and go. I don't know, actually, Maxine never really had a day. I'm being generous, am I not, with that? But Maxine Waters is all over this saying, we got to re-invoke the 25th. And I'm like, wait, for who? For you? I mean, poor Maxine Waters. How she still has a job, I don't know. I'm starting to lose, shall I say, a lot of my respect that I once had for members of Congress. I played this in the shorts feed over the weekend, and I was just going to show you guys because she is just out of it, like out of it. And, this is when you say you got to make room for a new generation. You got to make room for people who are thinking new. You can check it on my short feed. Maybe we'll show it tomorrow. It's not that great. It's just Maxine saying, we got to use the 25th to take down this president. And I'm like, okay, you guys have tried about everything you can, and it's getting old. Really? Oh, hey, make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. We got a lot more coming up because there was a White House brawl. Well, not actually in the White House. Apparently at a club near the White House. It involved the Treasury Secretary. I mean, my gosh, if this is true, I'll tell you. Bessent apparently really knows how to throw him. It's kind of new for a Treasury Secretary, you got to admit. All right. Before I get to that, reminder as we talk about markets, remember to go to my firm, 76 Research. Check it out. We have 3 portfolios there for you. You can get the regular newsletter, $1 a month with code word dollar, DOLLAR. Or if you're really looking to do serious stuff, check out our portfolios. Please check out our portfolios because we get quite a few. We get 3 of them, and they've all done really, really tremendously well. So just lots of good stuff there.